everyone. We're at the Carson City Culture and Tourism Authority Board of Directors meeting. It's August 10th at 4 p.m. and we're in the Sierra Room of the Community Center. Can I get a roll call?
Stacy Giomi.
I'm here.
Mike Riggs.
Mike, I think you're on mute again.
Mike Riggs.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yes, I am here.
Mike Santos.
Here.
We have a quorum. Oh, I'm sorry, and Mike Jones.
I'm also here.
I see it.
I could ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, I'll ask for any, the public is invited at this time to comment on any and discuss any topic that is relevant to or within the authority of this public body.
There is no public comment, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Possible action, the approval of minutes of the July 13th, 2020 CTA board meeting. Any board member have any changes or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve?
Stacy, I move to approve the minutes as presented.
Get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none.
Aye.
The motion passes. Item 6, adoption of the agenda. David, I think you have some additional material that's going to go in the 10C.
Yes, thank you, Chair Jones. For the record, David Peterson, Executive Director with Visit Carson City. 10C, we were able to get the remaining holdouts on June remittances. So we do have the June report that we'll talk through under 10C. So the agenda only recognizes May, but we were able to get June after we had posted everything on Wednesday morning.
Okay, we'll move on with the agenda with those additions. We'll move on to the consent agenda. For items 7 and 8, does any board member want any items, individual item pulled from the consent agenda for individual discussion? No? Does any member of the public, would you like anything pulled from the consent agenda for individual discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Get a second?
And Mike Riggs, I'll second that.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. On to item 9 for possible action and discussion regarding the proposed contract number CTA 2021-001 with Casey Nealon Incorporated for the designation of Nicola Nealon, CPA of Casey Nealon Incorporated for the audit of all financial statements for fiscal year 2020. Chris, you going to walk us through this?
Yeah, so we've always had Beth Cohn as our auditor since before I was even here. I think she's done it well over 15 years. She now works for Eide Bailey, and Eide Bailey is working with the city to set up audit practices and whatnot. So she said there wasn't quite enough separation for her to be comfortable. So we tried to work with the auditors the city has, get a quote from them since a lot of our stuff is with city finance. The quote was pretty high. So we talked to Beth again, and she recommended Casey Nealon. Casey came back with the proposal you guys see in your packet. And so we were thinking about just doing it for a year, but in looking at the way she had the price structure, David and I thought that doing the 3 years would be the best route to go. I've worked with her a little bit just in, the questions asking her about doing the audits and stuff like that, and she's been very responsive, and we've heard good things about them. So this is a contract to have them do our fiscal year audit for 2021 and 22. Yes. Yeah.
That was my one question. If we, any other questions from the board?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have to bid this, right? I just wanted that on the record that we didn't have to bid it because of the dollar amount and the fact that it's professional services, correct? Okay, thank you.
That is correct.
Can I get a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion. I move to approve contract number CTA 2021-001 with KC Nealon Incorporated for financial statement audits for fiscal year 2020 through fiscal year 2022 for a total not to exceed the amount of $39,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. We'll move on to item 10, monthly non-action items for presentation and discussion only. Dave, Executive Director update.
Thank you, Chair Jones. So I've got 6 things to talk through at today's meeting. The first is an update on the CTA applicant board interviews. So they're tentatively scheduled for 2 p.m. on August 20th, based on an email from Nancy this morning. So it just depends, I think, on the agenda and how long it's going to go. So that could shift maybe a little later in the afternoon, but I just wanted to let you all know that that's my update on the board interviews. Kit Carson trail markers. Oh, you can't hear? Okay. Kit Carson trail markers. So we're waiting on the final carriage stone to be completed by Prison Industries. So the Historic Resource Commission chair can officially approve the stone. And then we'll create the other 47. He's been to the office. He knows what the piece of stone looks like, the full-size piece. He loved it. It's just a question of putting the medallion and the plaque on a piece of stone and then getting his approval. And I like the way that the sandstone looks. I think it's really cool, the way it's kind of canted. And my plan is to bring this to the September meeting so you all can see it live in person. We'll put it out on the floor. So that's just a quick update on the Kit Carson trail markers. And then on our multimedia content coordinator position, 40-some people applied for the position, and we did a first round, a second round of interviews. Kudos to Chris and to Lydia for vetting the candidates, and the team made an offer to a gentleman by the name of Mr. Zach Bragdon, and he'll officially be a part of the team, the Visit Carson City team, on August 28th. And he very much looks forward to meeting the board at the September meeting. So I really can't wait for him to join the team. He's got some great ideas on the social media front and content, and he's just amazing with video. So I got to see a production that he worked on behalf of Porsche Passport Program, which I thought was just a fantastic video, along with some of his other work. So very excited to have Zach join us here at the end of August. And then in front of me, I have an example of hand sanitizer. So I have been working with Nancy and Stephanie, and we're going to use some of the CARES Act money to provide the tourism-related businesses. So we're only assisting on the tourism side. Ronnie helped with the rest of the business in Carson City to get these individual small 1-ounce bottles. So we've got our Visit Carson City Safely logo on those. As well as sort of the hand pump stations that you can put, when guests check in at the hotel or when you come into the restaurant where you would pay or where you would be greeted. And the idea here is we want to keep our visitors safe, but I think equally as important, if not more important, we want to make sure that the employees of these businesses are also safe as well. So Linda did a great job. She contacted hotels, motels, the RV parks, restaurants, bars, museums, the galleries, to assess their requests, how many bottles they think they could use by the end of the calendar year. And I'm happy to say that we'll be distributing approximately 10,000 of these individual sample bottles and then 136 of the hand pump variety. So thanks to the city, Nancy and Stephanie, as well as our partner, Terry Vance and Bill, the team over at Prison Industries, who have made the actual solution that we're going to use in the bottles. And so good stuff. Hopefully we'll start to see some of these coming off their production line later this month, and then we'll start to distribute them. So just an update on a great project, I think, that will help serve us well from a safety perspective moving forward. Quick arts and culture update. Again, working with Nancy and Stephanie, as well as the Cultural Commission Chair, we are going to host a joint meeting of the Cultural Commission and the CTA on September 21st. And we're going to plan this to include arts organizations as well as the hotel, motel partners as well. And I'll keep you all updated on details as that meeting evolves here. And then last but not least, last week we had, I think, a wonderful media day for the Carson Canyon Rail Bike Tours. Over a dozen media came on Saturday, and actually Elaine and I were interviewed by KTVN on Thursday morning, which got some great play. We know that people were calling based on that story that ran on Friday morning. They were actually showing up during media day, thinking that they could reserve a seat on Friday. The media were blown away. They thought this was just such a cool, but more importantly, I think, like a COVID-friendly outdoor activity that they could participate in, and you know, residents and visitors alike. So for almost every one of them, it was the first time they'd been on a rail bike. In addition, I think with the exception of one person, they'd never been in the Carson River Canyon as well. So it was a really nice to be able to give them that exposure. We had a capacity crowd at the ribbon cutting, as Mike and Stacy know, which was just fantastic. So huge thanks to Ronnie and the Chamber for putting that on. I do have some statistics just to give you from Ronnie. They've had 2,300 views on the Chamber Facebook page so far from the event, and their Carson Proud is over 800 views on the rail bike event, which is fantastic. And then Deb McCarthy, who is an influencer and blogger out of Northwest Reno, she was in a couple of weeks ago. She came back out to do the media day, and she just told me this morning she's had over 7,800 engagements with the rail bike story, because she was doing her live remote there on the phone on Friday morning. So really good feedback so far on that front. So Saturday morning, obviously opened up to the public at 8 o'clock in the morning. And then on the 17th of August, we did have to push the photo, video, drone shoot to the 17th, but I think it's going to be fantastic, because now instead of one bike, we'll have 6 bikes. We may even have 9 by that point. And then I'm going to read some information. Elaine asked me just to give a little brief update. Elaine Barkdale-Spencer, who's the general manager of the V&T Railway Commission, she said Saturday and Sunday they were completely sold out. They had to turn people away, and a lot of people wound up booking for a future date. People were walking up, trying to get on the rail bikes as well, all day Saturday and Sunday. They've had 560 passengers booked so far. She did say Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, a little less full, but they're still seeing several bikes being booked on the midweek level. And one of the things that I hadn't even thought about, but this is really, really cool to hear this, companies and groups and families are calling about future dates. So she's actually had companies want to do team building exercises and rent all the bikes, and then families do birthday parties or family get-togethers. So this has been great feedback. And then she just wanted me to reiterate that 8 a.m., 10 a.m., noon, and 2 p.m. are the new hours. And then they're going to do the additional 6 p.m. rides on Fridays and Saturdays going down in the canyon. And then they are thinking, this is based on some feedback from the people that have ridden so far. They're looking at maybe doing a little shorter ride for seniors. And then she's also looking at, there's been a lot of interest on the school side, back to school special deal for families as well. So kind of evolving as we go. She's planning a Halloween rail bike ride as well. And then she wanted me to let the board know they could have up to 9 bikes by the end of the month. So hopefully we'll push and double, to 12 at some point in September. So right now it's 6 bikes that are that are running on the rails. So that's a brief update from Elaine on the rail bike, so.
David, do you know how
Yeah.
they're staffing? They have enough? Because I know that was an issue, finding people to be the sort of ambassadors.
Yeah, so Mike may want to speak, to that, Santos, who, I give full credit, right? I mean, he has been a driving force behind these rail bikes for well over a year, so bless his heart for pushing and seeing this through. But my conversation with Elaine on Friday, I think a combination of the Freedom Rail Bikes, I know that they brought somebody on board who's a local person, which was great, and then Elaine was actually calling back some of the Polar Express staff as well, who don't have jobs doing something else. So it seemed to be okay, but I'm sure they might need a person or two extra. Always looking for volunteers as well to help out with the rides, and I think Mike's going to be volunteering out there quite frequently himself, so. But if Mike, if you want to add anything about the staffing, please feel free to do so.
Well, I do plan on going out there and doing some volunteering, and one of the things they needed was a weekend manager, and I think she got Katie to come on board, and so far we're covered, and I'm really glad to hear what a success it's been and continues to be. So that's great news.
And that's all I have for my report.
Board?
I got to ride with Nick Morano, who's the Carson City representative on the board, on the V&T board, and talked about a couple of other ideas with him. Going, I guess, northbound, Virginia City bound, crossing the bridge. He talked about they'd kicked around the idea of maybe putting a little sort of small western village up there somewhere, if they could make that work as an attraction on that other side. I mean, obviously, this is stuff down the road. And the other thing I thought would be very cool, and he said they had talked about it, is potentially doing some night, a lot of logistics to that, but potentially doing some nighttime trips into the canyon where you could actually do some stargazing, or because, talk about black sky, you can't beat, that canyon for that. So obviously, there's some logistics involved in that whole thing, but the possibilities are endless, and kudos to everyone who's worked on it, because it's a great draw. It's a great draw.
I love those ideas. I love the stargazing idea. That's great. That's fantastic. Yeah, I wrote that down. Yeah, people were also asking me, are they thinking about doing, like maybe you go down and have some local beers, like a brewery, you could do some samples when you get down into Eureka Siding as well, or a wine tasting down there as well. So there's some really cool ideas that people were kicking around. I don't know where we want to go with that, but they were thinking outside the box, that's for sure.
No, I
It
think.
just can't be too much, otherwise you'll never make it back out of the canyon.
But I
Unless
mean,
you put sleeping bags in
Right.
the canyon.
we've only had it open for a weekend, and look at all the ideas that it's already spurring. Yeah, I'm with Stacy. I think it's, the opportunities could be endless, and the guests, the customers will give us some great ideas, I think, if we listen. All right, anything else for David?
No, that's all I have, Chair.
All right, we'll move on to transient occupancy tax.
Thank you, Chair Jones. So the late material that arrived today, we're going to be looking at the large sheet, and in the bottom right, it'll be dated 8/10. So in the packet, when we put them together, we did not have all the properties remittances for June, but they did come in as of last Friday. So I wanted to go ahead and use the most current data that we have, which means now we have a complete fiscal year 20. So I'll go back 1 month to May. So you can see we came in just under 50% of the prior May tax. You'll see that the negative 49.18. And then June, we actually improved by 10%. So June was just under 40% behind the prior year, June. So for the fiscal year, we came in just under 18%. And again, when we put the budget together, we were thinking we were going to be down, if you see on the third row, far right, about 26.5%. So I'm happy to say that obviously we we fared better than we thought for each of the last 3 months of the fiscal year, April, May, and June. And so if you look down to what's in blue, I've done a little bit of a reforecast, and I talked to Mike Jones, the chair, about this, a little bit of a reforecasting of July moving forward. So I've got July revised to be down 40%, pacing against June. And then I've got us coming up about 5% August, so down 35%. And I just kind of carried that through the end of the calendar year. So we'll kind of see how things go, obviously, with July and August numbers. You know, for September, my hope is, I think, Chris, we think we'll have all the, hopefully, most of the July remittances in. So that'll kind of give us a good read as to what July looks like. And then, again, you know, there's not science to this. We don't have a model or anything like that we can go off of, right, to help put these numbers together. And I do realize that things are changing every day, and we could get in the red, I guess, as it's called, and might have to shut down again, or whatever the case may be. So Chris and I are, bless her heart, you know, working together on this every day when we get some of the returns in from the individual properties to help us kind of reproject everything. So my commitment is to always bring the most current data to the board each month based on whatever we have in terms of the actual collection. So that's kind of a quick update on this sheet. So before we go to the next lodging reports, are there any questions about how the fiscal year ended?
No, I think you're right. You know, our crystal ball is kind of cloudy, but luckily we've been, you know, we've been off, but in a good way. And, you know, going forward, I don't know what's going to happen, but hopefully the trend continues and we still see that we're trending better than we thought. For David? On to the next item then?
Yeah. Okay, so thank you, Chair. With that, I'd like to move on to the transient occupancy reports on 10C. So you have May and June included in this month's report. Obviously, I just kind of covered the plus minus where we were at. The one thing that I would say is if you kind of look at May and June side by side, I was very pleased to see we were only down, if you look at the top five, in terms of average daily rate, less than a percentage point. And in fact, we were up 10% on top 6 through 13 and up a little bit on RV. Now, I know that properties are shifting also, so you have to remember these are not the normal times where properties slot in on the top five and then 6 through 13, but I thought, relatively speaking, as compared to May, it was good to see that rates are coming back on the property level. So really with that, you know, the occupied rooms are what they are, you know, based on us trying to come back out of this. But again, we were just over 13,000 occupied rooms in May. We pushed 17,401 rooms in June. So I'm just looking to see that we continue to increment up, you know, month to month at this point. So I think we're moving in a good positive forward direction. And I do know from some of the properties that in the past month, they have been sold out on the weekends. And I know they've been walking people to other hotels. So I've been very pleased to hear that from some of the properties. And I'm excited, you know, I know we're pulling in people from Lake Tahoe as well. They don't want to spend $300, $350 a night. So we've been able to pick up some business from Lake Tahoe, which I think is fantastic, because then they come into Carson City and they realize what a cool capital city we are and all the different activities that they can participate in here and don't have to deal with the traffic and the crowds and everything that's going on up in Tahoe. But so far, I think looking at the May and June data, I see positive signs all around. So even on the RevPAR side of things, we picked up about $8 a room from May to June. So we were just under a decrease of $30 on a RevPAR basis for May, and we were just over $21 in the negative. So good signs there, I think, as well. So if there's any specific questions, I'm happy to talk about either of those reports, but just kind of a high-level review of where we're at now to conclude the fiscal year.
Any questions from the board? No? So why don't we, James, events update?
Thank you. David, can you push that button for me, please? Staying consistent for the past three meetings, just recapping on some of the events. We had hoped for some of these all-world sports tournaments to take place in the month of August up until the July 31st announcements from the governor, which effectively canceled everything in the month of August. During this time as well, speaking with Parks and Recs Department, they've been trying to, they do have staffing concerns. A lot of their staff that does temporary work, that work part-time, have moved on to other positions and doing things elsewhere. And so they've implemented a policy to give a 3 weeks notice in terms of understanding where we are for events. If we're able to have it, then they can start planning for an event 3 weeks from the date of when they feel comfortable with. We spoke with them with that, spoke with All World Sports. They understand, they know the circumstances, what's happening right now, so they're comfortable with that as well. They're hopeful for the month of September. I think we all are, but things are looking dire. So for the month of September, we only have that Motor Officer Challenge. I've spoken with them and their team and explained to them that, the city is not releasing any permits. So if you're trying to have this event downtown, it might not happen. And they said that they will move it to a private location if needs be for them to have their event. So it seems like tentatively that event still might happen in the month of September. A recap, we had Sports Leisure's vacation here. Mr. Hoffman, we took to Stewart Indian School as well as to the Nevada State Museum, and he absolutely loved it. His quote, he said that, this tells the full story, Stewart Indian School. It doesn't skip years in terms of what the initial school was intended for and the transition in terms of how the Native Americans were encouraged to, at some point in time, wanted to start going to the school there. So it tells the full story of how the culture in the later times were starting to be preserved at Stewart Indian School. And he appreciated that. We talked about some of the unique ways and features that we could benefit a tour operator and went through that process there. Took him to the mint and showed him the minting of the coin, and he was really excited about the minting of the coin, the actual coin process, and the fact that people can actually see it being minted and they could take a piece home with them. So we're working on the Nevada State Museum to finalize a partnership when it comes to not just sports leisure vacations, but all tour operators in general, just to make sure that we have a consistent policy in terms of how we treat them and how we can help them bring their tours here. With the conclusion of that visit, I gave him a list of the motor coach-friendly restaurants, including highlighting all the ones that are tied to a casino and ones that can accommodate a party of 20 to 30 people. Some of the requirements for family-friendly restaurants or motor coach restaurants requires, easeability for their buses to be, turning radius and that kind of thing. So I worked on this early in the year and was able just to send that directly to them. With that in mind, are expecting to put together either a spring or fall tour through Sports Leisure Vacation. So we're really excited to get our first tour operator plan and put together a tour for us in Carson City.
And I just want to add that James has done a great job. I mean, he's been working on this since I think late last summer, quite frankly. And then at NTA, we had a chance to meet with the co-owners, Mark and Clayton, and James throughout this whole pandemic has continued to reach out to them, send emails. We sent a little something their way for the 41st, I think, anniversary of being in business. And so continued to just, pick away at the edges here and stay in contact. And it was great to actually have Mark and one of his associates coming to town, because I think Mark hasn't had to go on the road in 20-something years
Right.
to actually look at facilities, look at hotels, look at the attractions and everything. So I think this is the start of something good, because this is a fantastic first motor coach operator to have on board here to bring some business into Carson City.
Yeah,
So-
Mark actually gave me a hard time about Stewart Indian School, because he said, after the conclusion of the Stewart Indian School, he said, you are underselling this place. When you were at NTA, and I told him, well, Mark, the museum wasn't open when we met. So I can only tell you what was taking place, not actually seeing the facility. So he was very supportive, and he even stated at the next NTA conference that he will be an advocate for us, for Carson City, to help promote the Stewart Indian School, because he really sees that location as extremely unique in terms of American history and culture.
No, I think you're doing great staying in contact with these folks, even though they might not be coming this year.
Yeah.
Because, eventually this situation we're in will pass. And keeping those relationships and being able to hit the ground running when it does pass, I think is important. So, thanks.
Yeah, the timing is perfect. I mean, it goes right into our Go West Summit. We are in the appointment setting phase right now. If you notice on the TV screen there, we have selected a few countries that we wanted to focus on. This wasn't at random. We met with what is his name? Larry Freeman. Larry Freeman used to run the sales missions and the sales side of things for Commissioner of Tourism for years. And so we had a chance to meet with him to pick his brain a little bit, David's experience in terms of some of the visits that he has taken place or that he has done in the past. We knew that we wanted to focus on certain areas. There were over 100 different tour operators from different countries in the world. And so we currently, at this point, since it opened on July 3rd to today, we have 17 appointments set up, and we're working to try and solidify another 15 to 20 appointments. Now, this is all virtual, so a lot of these countries are scheduling their times according to their time rates. So I have appointments that begin at 11:30 p.m. all the way to 3 a.m. in the morning. And I think from a supplier perspective, I think it's the right call for us to make sure that we're available for those times, because we are trying to attract these buyers to book these tours and to learn more about our products. So I made myself available and told David to not expect me early in the morning the next day.
So I said that's fine. We'll see you at 6 in the morning. Great. Take a little snooze.
Sleep is overrated.
Sleep is overrated. Yep, so we'll go along this, and then the actual event, virtual conferences, is 5 days from August 31st to September 4th. Really excited to highlight some of the things that we've been working on throughout the past year. The Stewart Indian School is definitely going to be a priority for us, especially because it's one of the newer products that we have here in Carson City. Next, please. Dave. Yep. And then, of course, NTA. It was in December last year, November this year. This is also a virtual conference, and the difference between this one and Go West is this focused more on the national tour operators versus Go West is our international tour operator. So we're hoping to make more connections with NTA, continue to build our profile, and we'll start preparing for that as soon as we're done with Go West. Thank you. Any questions?
Questions for James? Thanks, James.
Thank you.
David, getting update, you're filling in for Lydia today?
I am, yes, I'm going to do my best to pretend that I know as much about marketing as Lydia does. So a quick update here from Lydia. Our July, these are some of the PR highlights. We did host one FAM in July, and I'll get to that. But those are some of the article highlights. So we had a UVPM of 347,000, and there was only $478 of value. Again, it was a pretty light month given everything that's going on. On the FAM recap, so we did have a couple of changes from last month's board meeting. So due to Jonathan's editors, and it was actually the corporate folks, they pulled the plug on any restaurant-related stories if he had to travel outside of Reno. So he did try, bless his heart, to make the trip out here happen, but we are going to reschedule the Carson City food tour. It's just at a date and time to be determined based on when the corporate folks will allow that travel to take place. About Town Deb, she is fantastic, so I have to tell you, she came out 2.5-day fam. She's an influencer blogger out of Northwest Reno. It was just a blast to host her. We want to continue the partnership with her. I have to say she came out to the media day on Friday, and she's actually going to be out here again on Wednesday. So she arrives tomorrow night, and she'll be doing the Good Day Carson program. And then I'll be co-hosting with her out at Chutery Brewery on Wednesday afternoon. We're actually going to have Ken Farley, who's the new interim president of the Brewery Arts Center, on the program, as well as Elaine. So we're going to kind of keep things moving on the rail bike front. And Deb just thought those were the coolest things ever. So she really wanted to have Elaine come on her show. And again, she's very much about community. When she was here, she did the hot springs. We were at Sassafras Shoe Tree, which is why she loved that place so much. She wants to come and do her live Facebook program. We were at the Nevada State Museum, Mangiatudo, again, for the radio show, Piazza for dinner, Stewart Indian School, the Carson River Park, the Brewery Arts Center mural, the Basil, Gather, Poorhouse, the Capitol Grounds. She also did parts of the Kit Carson Trail, and she's actually going to come back and do the full walk. So that'll be another visit as a follow-up, because she just was so enamored with the sites, the different buildings, and the churches and the homes. She also strolled downtown to visit the shops like Ampi's, Hannafin's, Purple Avocado, and more. And she was very well received, as the feedback that we've had from her and from the different venues that she went to. She brought little gifts for everyone, which was great. And then the photo shoot, it was awesome. It was a lot of fun. I'm going to give a little sneak peek of the photos, if I can close this. So I'm just going to advance these slowly, so everybody, or not. Hang on. I see. Okay, there we go. Okay. Whoops. Okay, so Jeff Dow, again, we brought him back to continue on with photos and video, and we also had a drone operator as well. So everything we did, is it okay? Oh, yeah. Okay. Is that better? Yeah. Okay. So everything we did was all outdoor oriented. So anything you could do outside. So this is kind of driven. We changed what the original plan was based on COVID and what we have going on. So I'm just going to walk you through some of the different images. Again, this is just a highlight of some of the photos. At the September meeting, we'll have some of the video, some of the drone footage, and then we'll walk through a full look and feel of what was done with Jeff and the team. And KPS3, they all did an amazing job. And Lydia and everybody that was involved to get the location set up. I want to thank Parks and Rec. Greg Berggren was fantastic helping us with Prison Hill Recreation Area and Ash Canyon. So really a lot of help from some of the different city people just to get us access and give us, here's where we think would be the best place to shoot, this time around. So as you can see here, a couple of images at the, at the Capitol. This was out at Stewart. Here we were up at Prison Hill Recreation Area with our mountain bikers. This was a fun one to be on, and that was a great family. Again, at Stewart, we had great diversity.
Dave, I apologize for interrupting. It looks like we lost Mike Riggs. I just want to confirm, I can't see the room. I just want to confirm that Mike Jones and Stacy Jumi are still there, which maintains a quorum.
Yes, they're both here, or speak for
Okay.
We're here.
Okay, great. We can go ahead. I don't know if we want to take a quick recess and check in with Mike Riggs to see if he's able to hop back on. That's ultimately the chair's call. We do have a quorum, so we can continue with the meeting. But just wanted to make note of that on the record, that it looks like he may have lost connectivity.
Let's make an effort to get Mike back, but it's not, if we can, yeah. Recess. We'll be in recess for the next couple minutes. We'll move forward. We still have a quorum. David, you want to continue?
Yes, thank you, Chair Jones. So again, we had great diversity with the folks that were kind enough to come out at the different locations where we were shooting the pictures, video, and drone footage. This is again out at the Stewart Indian School Cultural Center and Museum. This was up in Ash Canyon with our runners. And this is a couple of drone shots in here as well. Obviously, that's the governor's mansion. Again, back to Ash Canyon, the Capitol. And this was out on the Kit Carson Trail. Piran, you guys can see the images, just to double check?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Out again at Ash.
David, I was going to ask, is that you and your wife running the Ash Canyon Trail there?
Very funny. I walked it. I can't say I was running it, no. But thank you that's a nice compliment, because that was EJ, and he's one of those ultra marathoners. So obviously my walking down in Douglas County is paying off for you to recognize that. So thank you. Here we are out at the museum, the Welcome Center, actually, I should say, out at Stewart. McFadden Plaza as well, which I thought this was great. It really panned out quite nicely. Again, with mountain biking on the Prison Hill Recreation Area. Back to Stewart. And this was fantastic. Really appreciate Ben Rupert coming out and doing in traditional costume, traditional dance. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what the drone footage of him full on display out there looks like. So it's funny, when you're standing behind, you don't get the sense of what it's going to look like. And I would have never guessed this is how cool that image would have looked in terms of where I was behind Jeff when he was shooting. So some more out at Prison Hill. At McFadden, that's Piazza. And yeah, back to the Kit Carson Trail. And there's Ben. So that's a little, a couple more here. Sorry, it's lagging a little bit. There's Ben. So this is a little sample of some of the images. Plan to fully come back in September with, again, the video and the drone footage as well. So, but I wanted you to see what those 2 days look like. So I really think it showcases Carson City very well. And I love the proximity, up on Ash with those images to the city. I think that's important so people can see how close to the downtown area the trails are, right? You're not having to drive another hour and a half to get to the trails. You're 15 minutes away. So some more inside Stewart. These are beautiful shots there. I think those are great. There seem to be a lot of photos here, so forgive me. So I'll kind of leave it at that. So again, that was our summer 2020 photo shoot. Again, everything oriented toward outdoor activities that we can participate in. So let me get back into the presentation here. Thank you, James. All right. So we do plan, as I mentioned, to do the rail bike photo shoot on the 17th. Obviously, we had that smoke situation with the fires. And then I just, a little update, so search, retargeting, social campaigns, we did launch those on July 1st, so that's our Discover Your Capital messaging, and we're only targeting Nevadans, and that started on the 1st of July, and I'll cover a couple of the statistics there. So we have the Google search ads there running with retargeting, so that the messaging is Discover Your Capital, Kit Carson Trail. The Google Ads campaign is doing pretty well. Lodging searches continue to be our #1 search category, which I think is great, given our funding source. We're running a very good average cost per click, or CPC, and we're still running under budget. Just to be conservative, kind of with this first month of paid advertising, keeping an eye on traveler sentiment and visitor sentiment, right, as well as our local resident sentiment as far as having visitors come into Carson City. So we can scale that up at any point or scale it down if we need to do that. And those are some of the images that were up there. We did have 3 campaigns running in July. So again, everything was about the outdoors. The Discover Your Capital is the primary one, and then Kit Carson Trail. And the All Things Outdoors was a directive to visitors, all about Carson City outdoor activities that you can safely get out and about and do with social distancing in play. And we've had 206 landing page views on the blog post in 1 week. And then we had just placed a Pinterest ad directing to the blog page on August 1st as well. So Lydia got that up and running. And I'm going to see if I can't get this video to play for you. Again, this doesn't have sound or anything, but that's incorporated into the ad. And I know it's small. I apologize for that, but so I think this has, again, been just a great opportunity to showcase all the outdoor activities that one can participate on when they're visiting Carson City. And this is a sample of the blog post that we just put out on August 1st. So covering, again, a lot of ground there on the blog post. We had, again, 472 landing page views in 30 days, and then 802 link clicks on that. On the social media advertising front, again, this is for Discover Your Capital specifically, Facebook and Instagram. 524 landing page views within the last 30 days, and then 1,040 link clicks. So we're pretty pleased so far with the campaign and the response that we've had to it. And again, this is just highlighting the different places that we went on the Jeff Dow shoot, so I won't read through those again. But I have to say, it was a lot of fun to be on that shoot. And it's a production, let me tell you that right now, with all the gear and the equipment. And boy, a lot happening and a lot going on. So kudos again to Lydia and the KPS3 team, and then Jeff Dow and Lloyd Garden, who was our drone operator. It was just fantastic. So that's the marketing update on behalf of Lydia. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to entertain those at this time.
Yeah, some great photos. Look forward to September and the
Yeah.
full package. Look nice. Any other questions from the board? All right, future agenda items? Requests from the board members? Anybody have any for David?
I just have a quick question. Do you know when that meeting on the 21st is going to be? Is it an evening meeting? Are we shooting for
I believe it's going to be at 5:30.
5:30?
Is the
Okay.
plan right now, just to allow everybody to
Yep,
get off
to
work.
get off work.
And then, yes,
Okay.
and the plan is, I was talking to Piran about this earlier, so I had, not to put her on the spot, but to work out of the theater here
Oh.
at the community center, just to allow for social
social
distancing. and
distancing.
Yeah, so trying to work out the logistics
Yep.
of how that would work in September, assuming we can do that and still allow up to 50 people at
Yeah.
that point. So, yeah, that's
What's the
5:30.
date we're going to be reaching out to the hotel folks to
Correct,
to come
to
to that
make them
meeting?
aware, yeah. And I just talked to Piran about this morning, and once we know that it's a go, then Mike, yes, you and I can send out some official communication. I just wanted to make sure it's absolutely can happen. And I know things could change, obviously, tomorrow or the next week, but once we have everything squared up, then I figure we'll get some communication out to the hotel properties.
Any other questions for David? All right, item G, our next meeting, September 14th, 2020 at 4 o'clock, right here in the community center in the Sierra Room. Any board comments or announcements or requests for information from anyone? No? I'll ask for public comment one last time. Public's invited at this time to comment on any matter that is not specifically included on the agenda as an action item.
There is no public comment, Mr. Chair.
Hearing no public comment, we'll move on to the last item, and can I get a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
We're adjourned.